Hello all, welcome to my channel KLFS Pro. In previous part we had discussed about bitwise operators. In today's session we are going to talk about complement operator and we are also going to talk about miscellaneous operator.
So if you want to check how complement operator works, then you will have to use this table in which we are saying if the number is 0, change it to 1. If number is 1, change it to 0. So I am using same number 34 and its binary representation over here. We know that when we are using complement, then usually 0 gets changed to 1 and 1 gets changed to 0. So all the bits will become opposite. Now if I want to calculate how complement occurs, then usually you can see if you try to calculate, whenever you try to find out complement, you will notice that if my number is positive, then the answer becomes negative and the value is 1 greater than that value, and if the answer is if my number is negative, then it becomes 1 less than that number and the answer will become positive. So complement of 9 will become 8. Now if you want to understand how this answer comes and how this gets calculated, because if you check over here, we are replacing this 0 by 1, then this will become a very big number. It will not definitely become 35. The reason behind it is, imagine that this 34 is stored in your system, and for that suppose it is occupying only 1 byte of memory. Actually it allocates 4 bytes of memory, but for simplicity imagine that it is using 1 byte, which is equivalent to 8 bits. So here if you notice, we are using 8 bits, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. So I am reducing this column. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 bits are there, which is equivalent to 1 byte. For simplicity I am taking 1 byte. Usually for integer in C++ it allocates 4 bytes. Those many zeros will be there on the left hand side. Now if you consider this 8-bit representation, usually the first bit, that is the most significant bit, represents the sign. If the first bit is 0, then the sign is positive, and if first bit is 1, then the sign is negative. So this indicates it's a negative number. Now when it is negative number, internally when integers are getting stored in the memory, if it is a positive number, then it gets stored in the form of binary representation. Then it gets stored in binary representation directly. But if it is a negative number, then it gets stored as 2's complement. So now if I want to understand what is decimal representation of this number, I will have to calculate what is 2's complement of this number. Then I will get the decimal representation. To find 2's complements, first of all I will have to calculate 1's complement. So 1's complement is nothing but make all these values opposite. So here we are not modifying this particular value because now it is representing the sign, which is negative sign. So here if I try to calculate 1's complement, again I will have to replace 1's by zeros and 0 by 1. So this will become 0, this will become 1 and this will become 0. So if you check, this number will become same as previous number. So this is 1's complement of this number, but we don't want to calculate 1's complement, we want to calculate 2's complement. And to calculate 2's complement, here we will have to add 1. So if you add 1 over here, then this will become 1, then this will become 1. All these values will remain same, and because of which the answer that we are getting is nothing but one number greater than whatever is our number. And since this bit becomes 1, initially the bit is 0, which gets modified to 1, and because of which sign gets negated, and over here we are getting the answer as minus 35. So usually if you try to calculate the complement of any number, if the number is positive, the value will be 1 greater than that number and the sign will be opposite, and if the number is negative, then the value will be 1 smaller than that number and the sign will be positive. If you try to find out the complement of 35, then the complement of 35 will be definitely minus because it's a positive number, and the answer will be 36. Now why this is happening? Because we know that how integers are represented. Now if integers, when the integers are getting stored, if the number is positive, then it gets stored in the then the binary representation of that number gets stored. But if it is a negative number, then it gets stored in the form of 2's complement. So to calculate 2's complement, first of all we are considering this number. We are taking 1's complement over here and then adding 1 to it, which will give us 2's complement. So you can try out for these numbers to calculate complement. If you want to execute and if you want to see the answer of complement, then here I have added C is equal to complement of A, and here we are writing C out C. To execute the code, I am recompiling it, and if I execute it by using a.exe, you can see the answer as minus 35 here. So if we try to calculate complement of minus 9 number, and then if we try to show the output of it, I am saving the code, and to run it we are compiling it, and if we try to execute it, you will get answer as 8. So you can see we are getting answer 8 over here. So this is how bitwise operator works. To see the answer on the next line, I am adding endl over here. And you can see we are getting answer as 8. So this is how complement operation works. So if you want to check complement operator, it is necessary to know how the internal representation of integer happens. As I told you, for positive number it gets stored in the binary representation format directly, but if it is a negative number, then it gets stored as 2's complement. And if you want to calculate 2's complement, then first of all we have to do 1's complement, and then we will have to add 1 into it. So this is how it works. Then there are assignment operators are also available. Assignment operators are equal to, plus equal to, minus equal to, star equal to, slash equal to, percent equal to, less than equal to, greater than equal to, ampersand equal to, or XOR equal to, or equal to. So these are shortcut operators. These operators are also called as shortcut operators. So if I am writing C plus equal to A, this is equivalent. I am writing C is equal to C plus A. So whenever you want to write this variable and this variable same, then instead of writing C is equal to C plus A, you can write C plus equal to A. Same way here, if you check, when we are writing C is equal to C upon A, so at both places variable C is same, and hence instead of writing it like this, we can go for shortcut equal to operator, that is C slash A. So these shortcut assignment operators also you can use while writing the program. Miscellaneous operators which are available are size of operator. We have already seen this operator which helps us to find out how many bytes are allocated for a particular variable. Then there is ternary operator available, which is also called as conditional operator. Comma operator is also available, which causes the sequence of operation to be performed. We have dot operator and arrow operator. So whenever we'll go for object oriented programming, that time we will see this dot and arrow operator in more detail, which is also called as member operators. Cast operator is casting operator, which converts the data type. So if you want to convert the data type of float into int, then we can write it like this. This is nothing but called as typecasting. Ampersand is also used as address operator. So if you want to get the address of any variable, then we can use ampersand operator. If I want to declare pointer, then we can go for star operator. So star operator also we have seen in previous tutorial, how to declare pointers, how to use them. These things we have already seen. So ampersand and pointer I have already shown you. Size of operator we have already discussed. So let's talk about conditional operator. This operator is also called as ternary operator. So if I want to specify any condition, I have to write that condition before question mark. And if this condition is true, the answer will be X. And if this condition is false, then the answer will be Y. So this is also called as ternary operator. If we want to check how ternary operator works, then here I am taking two variables, A is equal to 10 and B is equal to 20. I am using one more variable, int C is equal to 0. And then to find out maximum value between A and B, I can use if statement or I can go for ternary operators. So here I am using C is equal to A greater than B. So if this condition is true, then I want to print A, otherwise I want to print B. And hence I am writing A greater than B question mark A colon B. In our case, value of A is 10 and value of B is 20. So this condition will become false, because of which the answer will be B, and hence 20 will get stored in C. To display the value of C, we are writing Cout less than maximum colon C. If I want to see the output, I will have to open command window, and then here I will have to execute the program, that is ternary operator.cpp. It will create a file by default a.exe. So if you run it, it will show me maximum is 20. But what if I modify this value to 30? Now what will happen? A greater than B condition will become true, and hence it will print the value of A. So 30 will get stored in C, and now we will get the answer as C. So if I recompile the code, and then if I try to execute the file by using a.exe, you can see the value is 30. So this is the shortest way of writing the code for finding out maximum numbers between given two numbers. This is how you can use ternary operator. But ternary operator also can be nested. So for example, if I want to write one more variable, let's say x is equal to 34, and I want to find out the maximum number of 3, then I can also go for nested ternary operator. To use nested ternary operator, what condition we want to check is, if A is greater than B is true, then I want to check the condition whether A is also greater than X. So if this condition is true, I want to check one more condition, and that is why in this place I want to add one more ternary operator. For simplicity, I am adding brackets over here, and I am checking the condition whether A is greater than X. Now for this ternary operator also I have A. So here we are checking A greater than B is true, then I want to check A greater than X, and if this is also true, I want to print A is maximum. But if this condition is false, then I want to print X is maximum. So over here I am writing X. Now if you see here, this is the nested ternary operator which we have added in the true portion of the previous ternary operator. So like this you can go for nesting. If this condition is false, then A is greater than B is false, indicates B is greater. So in that case, here also I don't directly want to print B, but here also I want to add one more ternary operator. So for simplicity, I am adding brackets over here. So I am using the condition I will have to check here is B greater than X. If this condition is true, then I want to say B is maximum. So here I will print B. And if this condition is false, then I want to print X. So now in this case, what will happen? If A is greater than B and if A is greater than X is true, then it will print A, otherwise it will print X. Same way, if this condition is false, then it will check this particular condition, that is whether B is greater than X. If B is greater than X, it indicates that B is maximum, otherwise we have to say X is maximum. So if I use this nested ternary operator, it will also help me to find out maximum of 3 numbers. So it will give me the answer as maximum of 3 numbers. Now once we understood how to write it, then you can remove this bracket. These brackets I have added just for understanding how to write nested ternary operator. I am saving this. Now right now value of A is 30, B is 20 and X is 34. So over here we should get the answer as 34. If you want to execute this code, then I will have to recompile it because we have done modifications. And now if I run this code, it will give me the answer as 34. Now suppose I am changing this value to 54. Now if this is 54, then I should get the answer as answer should be 54. Because now out of this 30, 54 and 34, the maximum number is 54. So if I save this code and if I run this code, I will have to recompile it because I have done modifications. Now if I say a.exe, it will give me the answer as 54. So you can say that instead of writing nested if else, I can write a very small code by using nested ternary operator. So ternary operator can be written in nested way, in which for every ternary operator true and false has to be there. So this is true part of first ternary operator and this is false part of first ternary operator. And if you check these individual ternary operators, for them also we have true part and we have false part. And for this ternary operator also we have true part and we have false part. So while writing, it becomes complicated to write. So always it is better to put it in a bracket and then write the code and later on remove the bracket. That will help you to understand how to do nesting. Now here also I can add one more nested ternary operator. Here also I can add one more ternary nested operator. So nesting of ternary operator is possible to do and this is how you can do it. So this is how you can use the ternary operator. So in ternary operator, I have shown you how to use condition. We will see this operator later.